What's up, everyone? Alright, so let's get something straight. Why are we still treating bone cancers with treatments that date back to the Walkman era? Seriously, when science has already dropped the ultimate mic? Get this, viruses that kills cancer cells. That's right. Welcome to Viruses That Heal, the podcast where science doesn't just cure, but it kicks cancer's butt. I'm your host Nasha. Today we're joined by Jasmine and Judah, and we're gonna dive deep into the wild world of oncolytic viruses and how it can revolutionize osteosarcoma treatment.
Think of this as the Marvel reboot we didn't know we needed, but with biology instead of billionaires.
We're mixing science, history, hope, and a little bit of rage with a lot of very cool, very real, viral tech.
Okay, so let's start from ground zero. What is osteosarcoma and why should we care?
Okay, so osteosarcoma is the most common type of bone cancer in kids and teens. It usually shows up during rapid growth periods, so around puberty to teenage age. The cells that should be building strong bones go rogue and start multiplying uncontrollably. Now, according to data by the American Cancer Society, about 1,000 new cases are diagnosed in the US annually, with roughly half in children and teens, as it is most often strikes during adolescence when bones are growing fast. But there's also a smaller second peak in older adults above 65 years old.
So despite its rarity, osteosarcoma is significant because of its aggressive nature and potential to spread to other organs, particularly your lungs.
Exactly, and it doesn't stay in the bone. The real nightmare is when it metastasizes. It loves to spread to other organs such as the lungs or even other parts of the body. And when that happens, a person that could initially live up to 7 years could be drastically dropped or maybe only up to 2 years. So the survival rate drops drastically. We're talking about 70% to only up to 20 or 30%.
And yet, barely anyone has heard of it. Why do you think is that?
Because it's a rare disease with about only 3% of all childhood cancer. But that rarity doesn't make it less deadly. It just makes it less funded and less talked about. Also, it's often found in the long bones like the femur or tibia, right where the bones grows the fastest. That's why age and rapid growth are some of the biggest risk factors.
It's really heartbreaking to realize that vibrant, athletic kids, full of dreams and energy, can have their lives completely upended by osteosarcoma.
Yeah, and the symptoms can be pretty sneaky. So basically, growing fast comes with risk. For example, a little leg pain or swelling, sometimes you might just brush it off as a sports injury, could actually be an early sign of osteosarcoma.
Yeah, it's one of those diseases where early detection could save lives. But it's so quiet at first, it slips under the radar. It's like this forgotten thing you brush off its symptoms, but then it comes with a big shock once you find out. It's just that osteosarcoma doesn't get the same awareness spotlight as like breast or lung cancer, which have a higher incidence.
And that lack of awareness, that's exactly why we're here.
That's right. Today we're pulling osteosarcoma out of the shadows. It's 2025, yet in many ways, we're still treating this aggressive bone cancer like it's 1985. Relying on the same old approaches without enough awareness or breakthroughs. So why is it still so hard to detect early or how to get new treatment?
Again, part of the problem is that it's a rare disease, so it doesn't get as much research funding or public attention as most common cancers. Plus, those early symptoms, like pain or swelling, are so easy to overlook as misdiagnosis.
Exactly, and that means by the time that doctors realize what's really going on, the cancer can already be pretty advanced and harder to treat. Therefore, we need better education, earlier detection, and more innovative therapies to change that.
That's right. So let's find out more on how the science is doing today and change osteosarcoma treatment. Alright, so you get diagnosed. What's the treatment protocol today?
Honestly, it still feels like we're stuck in the 80s. The go-to treatments are the usual conventional therapies such as chemotherapy, surgery, and sometimes radiation therapy. It's the same harsh, old-school approach.
Yeah, chemotherapy is brutal. It's like dropping a bomb on your whole body just to try and kill the cancer cells. But it doesn't just target the cancer. It hits all fast-growing cells like your hair, your gut lining, and your immune system. The side effects are rough. This is because they attack all cells that actively divide, especially those that divide the most, making our body weak and unable to fight back.
Right. And also, radiation therapy is kind of like a double-edged sword. It uses high-energy rays to try to kill cancer cells, but it can also damage nearby tissues. It's usually used in specific cases where surgery isn't enough or the tumor is in a tricky spot. Like chemo, it can also cause side effects such as fatigue, skin irritation, and sometimes long-term damage depending on the area.
And the surgeries can be life-altering. Sometimes patients lose an entire limb. Other times, they go through massive reconstructive surgeries that take months or even years to recover from. It is also important to know that surgeons cannot remove all cancer cells. Therefore, usually a follow-up chemotherapy or radiotherapy is required, which heavily damages the body. Therefore, the risk of getting cancer is just too big, as the percentage of cleaning out all cancer cells with any tiny bit of possibility of cancer cells remaining in the site is just too much to bear.
Yeah, so that's exactly my point. There's no guarantee that the recurrence of cancer is 0%. The harsh reality is that recurrence is pretty common, especially if it had already spread before the treatment even started. That kind of uncertainty hangs over the patient like a dark cloud.
Which is why there's such a desperate need for better options. The physical toll is just overwhelming. The emotional strain, the mental exhaustion, the years of grueling rehab is also overwhelming.
And it gets worse when the cancer becomes resistant to chemotherapy. At that point, patient hits a phase where there are no more options for effective treatment and no clear path forward. Then, with the only one left remaining, they can only be treated with painkillers to live the rest of their life to the fullest.
Man, after all that, just to reach a dead end, huh? But there must be another way, right? Which is why we're here today, to discuss the new promising treatment and research that might come and change the story. So, you guys have ever heard of a story that's just too weird to be true? Okay, so picture this. It's the 1890s, and you've been diagnosed with leukemia, which is basically like a death sentence back then, by the way. And things aren't looking too good for you. But then, out of nowhere, you catch the flu, and it's not just the typical mild, oh, I get sneezies type of flu. It's the full-on high fever, hallucinating, and am I about to meet God right now type of flu. But then here is where it gets weirder. Your white blood cell counts deplete, and somehow your immune system starts fighting the cancer cells as well. So it's crazy, but it actually happened.
Yeah, everyone's like, wait, huh? Did the flu just cure cancer? Imagine being a cancer patient with all hope lost, and suddenly your white blood cell counts start depleting. Out of nowhere, this weird little observation launched an entire hypothesis.
Yep, that's right. Scientists decades later are like, wait, did we just witness the first accidental immunotherapy? People with cancer getting viral infections are suddenly going into remission. But back then, we didn't understand viruses the way that we do now. It was just a mysterious coincidence.
So, the idea of using viruses on purpose to kill tumors? It was born. But then,
Radiation and chemo entered the chat.
Right. Those became the mainstream because they showed quicker and more consistent results. Even though they came with brutal side effects, they were easier to control, dose, and mass produce.
the oncolytic virus concepts kind of faded out until modern genetic engineering made a comeback possible. Fast forward to today, we have gene editing, molecular modeling, viral design software, and oncolytic viruses. They're having their comeback era.
Now we're talking CRISPR, precision editing, and custom-built viruses.
Whoa. Slow down. What's CRISPR again?
So they add genes to boost immune signaling, delete the parts that cause harm. Sometimes they even add image markers so doctors can see the virus at work. Altogether, turning viruses into smart cancer-killing machines.
Wow, so it's like precision medicine at its coolest. It's like upgrading from a slingshot to a guided missile system.
And the best part? These therapies don't just treat the tumor once. They have the potential to train your immune system to keep fighting even after the virus is gone. Like a built-in defense system that remembers what cancer looks like.
So yeah, from a freaky 1890s flu incident to cutting-edge viral immunotherapy in 2025.
The So basically, this just proves that the weirdest medical incidents can lead to the most powerful breakthroughs. Alright, so it's all hyped up, but what is oncolytic virus actually?
Great question. So an oncolytic virus is a virus that either naturally occurring or usually genetically engineered to do something really special, target and kill cancer cells while leaving healthy ones mostly untouched.
To put it in an easy way, think of it like a smart missile for cancer. Once it locates a tumor cell, it invades it, multiplies inside, and eventually causes the cancer cell to explode. That process releases more virus particles that go on to infect neighboring cells. It's a chain reaction of destruction, but focused only on the things we want to eliminate.
Yeah, and here's the clever twist. The destruction inside the tumor cells sends a red flag to your immune system. Suddenly, your body wakes up and goes, hold on, that's not supposed to be there. Now your immune cells are joining the fight, recognizing the cancer as threat and eliminating them too.
So it's like a direct attack and immune activation at once? That's like a 2-for-1 deal.
Exactly. And here's the best part. Healthy cells, usually totally fine. These viruses are designed to ignore them. The oncolytic viruses are able to do cell killing and immune training in one treatment. Such a catch, isn't it? That's just something the traditional chemo can offer.
Yeah, so basically, these viruses are either designed or naturally prefer tumor environment because cancer cells have weaker antiviral defenses. So your normal cells are usually safe. Pretty cool, right?
What? That's already better than chemo. Normal cells are excluded, but the cancer cells die.
Right. So scientists figured out how to genetically modify viruses. Basically, they arm them with special genes that produce cytokines. These cytokines are like the immune system's hype squad, showing up right inside the tumor to rally the immune response.
It's like sending a Trojan horse into your tumor that suddenly starts telling your immune system to step up and tell your own body to start fighting the cancer, literally using the cancer's own biology against itself. What a poetic ending.
Alright, now let's dig a little deeper. Oncolytic viruses, that's what we call viruses engineered to fight cancer, are having a moment. We're talking herpes simplex, adenovirus, vaccinia virus, even reoviruses. It's a whole viral Avengers team.
Yeah, and one of the biggest names right now is TVAC, short for telemagene laherparepvec. It's based on the herpes virus, the same one that causes cold sores.
Whoa, hold up. You're telling me cold sores fight cancer now?
It sounds wild, but yep. Scientists took that herpes virus, deleted the parts that make it harmful, and added some extra genes that turn it into a cancer assassin.
Yeah, it's basically a virus with a career change, from troublemaker to healer. Huge shout out to bioengineering.
Wow, that's incredible. And we can tweak these viruses precisely now.
We can. With tools like CRISPR and synthetic biology, scientists can literally program viruses to behave a certain way, like little living robots.
So instead of nanobots like in the sci-fi movies, we've got actual real biological ones.
Exactly. But the cool part is, they don't just kill the cancer cells directly. TVAC also teaches your immune system to fight back.
Okay, so explain that. What does the immune system has to do with all this?
So normally, your immune system is like security. It detects anything weird and takes it out. But cancer is sneaky. It's got an invisibility cloak that allows them to bypass and evade the immune system into hiding, into thinking, hey, nothing to see here.
TVAC helps expose cancer to our immune system. When it kills cancer cells, those cells burst open and spill their contents, kind of like leaving an evidence at a crime scene. That's when your immune system finally sees what's going on and goes, hold up, that's the enemy? Then it starts attacking any similar cancer cells it finds.
Wow, that's so cool. So basically TVAC is like a snitch, but of course in a good way.
Pretty much, it blows the whistle and then the immune system swarms in. That 1-2 punch, direct killing plus immune activation is what makes it powerful.
Okay, so that sounds super OP and all, but since you said that there's little research on this, have they actually tried it on bone cancer like osteosarcoma?
Well, T-VEC is the only FDA-approved oncologic virus right now, but it only works on melanoma. That's skin cancer. Osteo in osteosarcoma means bone, so totally different tissue type. The virus was designed specifically to work in melanoma cells, but not in bone cells.
And while there's some testing of T-VEC in soft tissue sarcomas, osteosarcoma isn't included in that, at least not yet.
So, if you got osteosarcoma, is there anything similar out there or maybe something even better?
Actually, yes, there are several viral therapies currently being studied for osteosarcoma, but here we want to highlight two. One is called Delta 24 ACT and the other is reovirus or reolysin.
So, Delta 24 ACT is a modified adenovirus, which usually causes infection in the respiratory tract, in the eye, and also in the gastrointestinal tract. But here, since it is modified genetically, it is designed to kill osteosarcoma cells and kickstart an immune response. What makes it special is that it carries an extra gene called the 41BBL that acts like a fuel booster for T cells, helping them grow and stay active in the fight.
So it's like handing the immune system a double espresso and say, go get 'em.
Exactly. In mice, it worked really well. Not just killing the main tumor, but also hitting the spread to the lungs, also known as metastasis, which again is where osteosarcoma often spreads.
And the best part, it didn't cause any major side effects in those animal studies. Safe and effective, at least in the early stages.
And what about real viruses? It sounds like it came out of a sci-fi movie.
Surprisingly, it's actually a natural occurring virus. You've probably had it as a kid and never noticed. But in cancer therapy, it's being reused because it spreads easily in cancer cells that have a certain specific mutation called the RAS pathway, a key system that actually controls how cells grow and is often overactive in osteosarcoma.
Yeah, so reovirus has already made to phase 1 clinical trials, including in children with relapsed solid tumors like osteosarcoma. That means it has been tested in human for safety, and the results were promising. It was well tolerated, and in some patients, the disease stopped progressing.
Wow, so we've got Delta 24 ACT, which is like super specific to bone cancer but still in animal testing, and this real virus, which is broader but only in human trials.
You got it. It's like Delta 24 ACT is the sniper, it's really precise, while reovirus is more like a shotgun. It targets a broader range of cancers that share similar mutations.
Because reovirus is further along in trials, it might be the first to get approval. But Delta 24 ACT is the one we're watching closely for its bone cancer specific targeting.
So no silver bullet yet, but maybe a silver arrow in the making?
Well said. Both therapies are still in early stages and they offer real hope, especially for cancers like osteosarcoma, where treatment options are still limited.
And yeah, honestly, it's amazing to see viruses, the things that we are always feared of, being turned into life-saving tools.
Well, I gotta say, this is mind-blowing, and turning viruses into cancer treatments? That's some real science fiction stuff coming to life.
And we're just scratching the surface. As we keep learning, these therapies could get more targeted, more effective, and maybe even be used in combination with other treatments like immunotherapy or chemo.
Exactly. This could open doors not just for bone cancer, but for dozens of tough-to-treat cancers.
Right. So, final question for both of you. If you had to sum up what makes oncologic viruses exciting in one sentence, what would you say?
I'd say they're nature's own tools, reprogrammed to fix what went wrong.
Mine would be turning yesterday's enemies into today's cancer-fighting allies.
Wow, well said, guys, well said. So, how well is this oncologic virus actually working so far?
Well, it's still the early days, but some trials are showing promise. In animal models of osteosarcoma, we've seen tumor shrinkage, immune activation, and longer survival.
Yeah, and human trials are starting to catch up. The challenge? Well, funding, logistics, and the sheer complexity of the human immune system.
But we've seen TVEC work so far, making it a groundbreaking foundation for oncolytic virus to research to get even more further. And combining viruses with immune checkpoint inhibitors, that's showing synergy.
Exactly. The goal isn't just viral therapy alone, but using it as a force multiplier with other treatments.
Yeah, I love that. Science is not about replacing, but it's about upgrading. Okay, so what's actually holding us back from having this breakthrough?
Well, let's be honest. One reason that isn't mainstream yet is because of the money.
And fear. Regulators move slowly. Drug companies don't always like disruption. It's safer to keep selling what already exists.
Even if it means the patients suffer, man, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Well, we need bold funding, better trial infrastructure, and public pressure.
Well, science moves when the people demands it, so let's demand it.
Yeah.
So it's been a few long minutes, but we're still hype, right?
Yeah. Honestly, we could do a whole series on this,
Oncolytic viruses aren't just cool. They represent a future where cancer therapy doesn't have to be hellish.
So to all the researchers, advocates, and also trial participants, thank you so much for already pushing this forward. You're the real MVP.
And if you're listening and feeling fired up, good. Share this episode, donate, and don't forget to ask questions.
Because science doesn't just happen in labs. It happens when people care enough to ask, act, and demand.
Yeah, so stay smart and stay viral, but the good kind, of course. Peace out!
Peace
Peace out!